This is Performance Anxiety on the Pantheon Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Mark. And today's guest made me protonic. I don't even know what that means, but welcome Conan Neutron to the podcast. I get some great insight into the Neutron house growing up. For example, Conan started playing guitar because a friend of his came to the front door with a bass and told Conan he needed to get a guitar so they could start a band. Well, it worked out all right, because he's been in some pretty awesome bands with some pretty awesome people, like Dale Crover. But according to Conan, the important part is planning the band's breakup ahead of time so it goes smoothly. Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends has released some great stuff, like an album about Hannibal Lecter and a concept album about depression and mental health. And Conan also has his own podcast, Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. He's just released a new album called Adult Prom. Make sure you read that one right. It's a split LP with the band Lung. Pick it up wherever you get your music. Follow Conan at Conan Neutron on Instagram. Check out Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. And follow us at Performance ANX on X and Instagram. Send us coffee money at ko-fi.com/performanceanxiety. Buy things at performanceanx.threadless.com. And sit back and get ready for some hearty laughter with Conan Neutron on Performance Anxiety on the Pantheon Podcast Network.
Right, yeah. The funniest one always wins, right? All right. I'm more of an extemporaneous dude. So. This is Conan Neutron of Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends and Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Adult Prom, split LP with Lung, available now at neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. You're listening to Performance Anxiety. I went a little NPR with it, but I think that's... Yeah, my God, this guy's loud and obnoxious. Who knew? I thought he was going to be well-spoken and soft, yeah. Terry Gross, yeah, I started to think of Terry Gross, yeah.
Hey!
Hello. How goes?
How are you doing?
Good, man. Let me up this volume here. There we go. Much better. Yeah, I got this perfectly fine, I guess, microphone that is up here. And I was like, you know what? I actually have good microphones. Like, why don't I go and grab one of those? I don't need this one that and I love Radio Shack is more or less doesn't even exist anymore, and so
right.
Sometimes people are like Radio Shacks, what's that? It's like well, it's a place you can get really crappy stuff for pretty cheap.
Yeah, I definitely remember Radio Shack. I spent a lot of time there. So
yeah, it's like if you were someone that liked doing DIY stuff, it was pretty much the best because it didn't cost that much and it's the same stuff anywhere you went. So if you want to try to build a thing or if you needed something to fix a thing, it was like the place to go.
Exactly. Oh crap, I need this cable for my stereo. Where the hell am I going to go? Radio Shack. And I can't, Shack. I don't have a budget. I can't. That's so
right, exactly.
And I feel like to a certain degree, and then Fry's Electronics was sort of like the next rung above that.
Yeah.
But much smaller. But then people don't even know from Fry's anymore because all the big boxes just ran out of business, which is why it's so great in Nope that they not only have Fry's Electronics, but they have the one that has the alien crashing into the building.
Oh wow.
Which is great because each of them had a theme.
Really?
There was one, the one in Sacramento was Raiders of the Lost. I mean, technically speaking, it wasn't tied to any specific movie or anything, but they had different motifs. And it's okay, so it's Raiders of the Lost Ark then is what this is. But you're, not if the lawyers come calling, but that's what it is.
See, I grew up in Jersey, so we didn't have Fry's, but we had Nobody Beats the Wiz. And
right. I'm guess I'm revealing myself as a West Coast guy when I start talking about Fry's Electronics, but this the local kind of electronic superstore basically.
Yeah, and Radio Shack was amazing when my kids were little because I could get them what they thought were really cool gifts, and they were cheap. Cheapest RC cars ever.
Do you remember Armatron, the robot? Yeah, where it's you
love that.
It's like a robot arm that you can move around with these things, and that's the best thing I've ever seen. That's amazing.
And all that was just pick crap up and move it.
Yeah. And ultimately, what are you doing? I'm taking a ball over here, picking it up with a robot arm, and moving it over there. Fantastic. 5 stars.
I will do that for hours.
Yeah, it's
Just
the height
because it's
of
not my
entertainment.
arm doing it.
Right, precisely. No, but the robot arm is the one doing the labor.
I'm telling the robot arm what to do, much like my brain and my actual arm.
Right, exactly. No,
So-
it's like,
Oh man, God, man, kids today are missing out.
yeah, exactly. They're all busy with their TikToks.
Yeah, that's I don't understand that kind of stuff. That's beyond. I'm really starting to feel old. I just turned 50 in June, and I'm starting to feel it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, well, it's interesting. I think that it's more, people are pushed to feel that way now because the whole thing with advertising is if you make people feel wanting about stuff, then you can sell them things, right?
Yeah.
So I think people are like made to feel that way and like made to feel like generally kind of anxious and out of sorts.
Oh yeah, like you're missing out.
But then also there's things like, I invoke TikTok, right? That's purely algorithmically driven. And I feel like the reliance upon algorithm and the basic surrender to the algorithm is basically one of the great missteps of our society in the past, few decades.
Thank you. I have a day job because obviously this is not what I make money at. But
Right.
but there is a slavish devotion to metrics. So, anything that deviates from the metrics is looked upon horribly. Like you're supposed to do this much in a day, and never mind the fact that something threw you a curveball and delayed what you were doing and caused you not to do it in the
Right.
allotted time period. That doesn't matter. You didn't meet your metrics, and it's the worst thing that's ever happened to business.
Well, because then that becomes like the whole business is like driven off of it, right?
Yeah.
So like that's ridiculous. What does this button do? Hold on. Oh, it takes a still photo. Oh, interesting.
wow.
Okay.
That's pretty.
I just saw this button in the corner, and I was like, let me just see what this is. Hopefully, it doesn't blow the place up. I'm not a big FaceTime person, if you can't tell. Like
Before we get too much into anything else, I do want to pass along my best to Dale Crover. I know he's having his surgery soon, and he's been on the podcast once before, and he was amazing, such a sweetheart, and I love his work. So please pass along the performance anxiety best to him, and best wishes for a speedy and effortless recovery, because my day job is in spinal surgical instruments. So
it's serious business.
Yeah, there's nothing there's nothing easy or painless about spinal surgery.
Right.
So
no, absolutely, and it's obviously a huge deal. And I'll pass that along.
Thank you. I don't know if he remembers being on the show or not, because I'm sure he does tons of this stuff. But
he's got a good memory. He's got a good memory.
He was super awesome to the show, and I really did appreciate him coming on. He came on when Rat-a-Tat came out. So
nice. You know what's funny? Who is playing drums for Secret Friends for our tour with Lung coming up? Mindy from Dale Crover Band.
Oh, really?
So if you like that, right? I can't remember if Dale played drums on that one too, or if Mindy did. Anyway, but yeah, like,
but there's the connection.
Small world. It's a family. Well, she plays in the live band. Actually, you know what? She's on. See, now I'm gonna look it up, because we have a split with Dale Crover Band. Hilarious, because Dale's on both sides.
Right.
It's
such a Dale thing, though.
I know, right, yeah. Well, and it's so disgusting that he's such a great guitar player when you're one of the best drummers in rock and roll. It's like,
I know.
How dare you, sir? I can't remember. I think she's on the record. I don't. Anyway, whatever. Mindy plays in Dale Crover Band, and she's playing drums for us for the October tour we're doing along the West Coast tour, which is great, and that's the first thing she's done with us. But Mindy's awesome, and it's a trip because like. And I've talked to other people about this. It's like, yeah, when you're filling in for him, it's like, I don't want you to do an impression of him. I want you to play the songs as you would play them. And everyone's always like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Because it's like, no, I've heard lots of drummers do like Crover impersonations. I mean, and it's great, but it's like, no one should be Yeah, we want you to sound like you're doing an impression of this guy. We want you
Right.
to do your thing to it.
Yeah, we want you as part of it to be yourself.
Right.
That's why we
I would never
picked you.
I would never ask anyone in that I didn't like enjoy like how they play and do what they do. And for the live shows, whatever the iteration, the thing I always would say is it's always different, always the same, right? And so that's one of the reasons why. And like I oftentimes will like tailor the set to people's strengths and stuff like that. Not like that much, but there's thought that goes behind it.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Before you skip over this ad, give me 1 minute. Like most podcasts, I pick sponsors carefully and I use the products that advertise here. Pure Spectrum CBD is a product that has been really beneficial for me. They have a wide variety of great products that can be used on a daily or as needed basis. I've been using the tincture every day and it's been wonderful for easing anxiety. And I absolutely love the isolate. I use it instead of acetaminophen or ibuprofen, and it's worked so well for the relief of aches and pains. They also have soaks, lotions, salves, gummies, and more, plus an entire line for fitness recovery. They even have products for your pets. See everything they offer at purespectrumcbd.com. And if you have questions, they're there to help. They helped me when I had no idea where to start. After you fill your cart, use code PERFORMANCEANX for 15% off your purchase. Pure Spectrum CBD, Pure Spectrum CBD, Pure Spectrum CBD.
It's funny that it's like, oh yeah, this is the second time that you're going to be doing the Dale Crover drum beats in a different band.
I was saying we, like I'm part of the band. That's my.
No, I didn't even catch that. Well, maybe you are. I don't know. I mean, like
I might be a secret friend coming up. Who knows?
This tour's staffed up, but there'll be other ones in the future.
Yeah, I mean, come to the East Coast.
We've been on the East Coast a few times. We were there last October. Where are you out of again, if you don't mind me asking?
I am just outside of DC.
We played Baltimore. We were actually gonna play DC this last time through, but we ended up not doing it. We just played Philadelphia and New York. We're overdue to play DC. My cousin works in DC, and we keep threatening to do it, and
you should
keep not doing it. But do you know that band Multicult from Baltimore?
It's not ringing a bell.
They're amazing, but they're good buddies of ours, and
I'll have to check them out.
They're really good. But yeah, East Coast is. We've played a lot of shows on the East Coast. Not a lot, but like we played some.
Mm-hmm.
But as much as like my band's Pre-Secret Friends, we toured a lot, but the strongest area that we have is West Coast, just because of like years and years of touring for my previous bands.
Yeah. And
it's sort of like, there's always like it's cool to go, play new areas and play to places we don't play that often, but also, okay, if we go there, if we go to the West Coast, we'll probably do pretty well, and we'll probably...
You'll draw a few more people, probably.
There'll be more people, definitely. There'll be more people, we'll sell more merch, it makes it more cost effective, which is crazy because it's like the longest possible distances, right? But what that ends up being is that we just don't spend as much time playing the East Coast maybe as that I'd like. But I'd like to change that because everything's so close. And I think the move might be that we like do some shows with a more established band out there or something, and just put the chips on that. Because I mean, it's ridiculously easy to tour in the East Coast. So anyone ever complains about touring from the East Coast, it was like, son, I'm from Oakland. Like, you want to go to Portland? That's 10 hours.
Oh God.
And that's like, we used to do that on a weekend.
Wow.
And it was like Portland, Seattle, and home. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's like 2/3 of the West Coast, dude. Like that's like,
yeah. The
that
East
was
Coast,
a weekend.
East Coast is pretty easy. I mean, you got DC to Philly is like 3.5 hours, and then Philly to New York is like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Easy.
So it's
and so people do the same thing here. They'll complain about it. And I'm like, okay, so it's an hour and 45 minutes to Chicago from Milwaukee. It's an hour to Madison. Like, it's like 4 and change to Minneapolis. Like, these cities are very close. It's very easy to tour regionally in the Midwest. It's one of the reasons why I'm here, frankly.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I'm blown away when people don't take advantage of that, because it's like, oh, well, we all have day jobs and we can't tour. I'm like, yeah, but you can do weekend stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're really interested in getting out there, there's plenty of places that you can play like regularly and find your people in all these different cities.
Oh, yeah. And DC actually has a really great set of venues to play. I mean, the new place just to open up, the Atlantis, which is co-owned by Dave Grohl. So, there's...
Oh, that's right. I heard about the Scream played that, right?
Yeah, it's modeled after the original 930 Club, because like 25 years ago, the old 930 moved to their new location, and they modeled the Atlantis after the old 930 Club. So,
is the Velvet Lounge still around?
I haven't been there. If it is, I have not been there.
I played there in Replicator years back. Last place I played there was with Future the Left in DC, and that was years ago, which is, I think, DC 9, if I remember right.
Oh, that's still there.
Yeah, that was a long
I just shot a show at DC 9 not too long ago.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Bobby Lee's were there. Bobby Lee's was a great show there. So. All right, so...
Oh, yeah, we're just BSing now. Sorry.
Oh, yeah,
that's my bad.
That's kind of what this whole thing is. But
I've heard the show.
To get to where you're at, I kind of want to know a little bit more about the Neutron house growing up. What was going on musically in the Neutron house? Were Mom and Pa Neutron supportive of your musical endeavors?
I'm imagining, what is it?
Like the Jetsons?
No, American Gothic.
Oh, yeah.
But like space age, like AI. We know as AI is like just showing weird things. It's like, oh, it's American Gothic, but it's in Mars or something.
Like he's got a laser pitchfork instead of a
yeah, exactly. There's just some space motif going on.
Lightsabers
for no discernible reason.
Right. He's still got the old barn and the haystacks and all, but
the barn is the same. The barn hasn't AIs, absolutely. I had a very, I guess, untraditional upbringing. We moved around a lot. I think I moved 22 times before the age of 17.
Whoa. Yeah. I thought I moved a lot when I was a kid. That's way more than me.
And my parents were deep appreciators of music. Like I had a lot of, especially classic rock, like played around the house from a very, very early age, like Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Neil Young, all that kind of stuff. And I basically grew up around it. Like, and I definitely was exposed to lots of like awesome records from a very early age. Nice. And I always enjoyed it. I always liked it. My mom played a little bit of folk guitar and
cool
cowboy chords and stuff like that, but like nothing like where it was like a main interest of hers to play. Pretty chaotic household, to be frank. So I definitely developed my own interest fairly early on. It really wasn't until I was in high school, which is when Nirvana hit big, that I was like, oh, okay, so this is a little different. This is for me. This is like, this isn't just cool. This is something that like it hits different. Which Nirvana led me to like Sonic Youth, Butthole Surfers, Melvins, like all of Jesus Lizard, like all these bands that pretty much opened my world up. That when I was 17, I got a job at Tower Records. Tower Records, everybody. And then that just, having, it's crazy to say this, but having access to all of music, they're like pretty much opened up all my horizons to be like, oh, okay, so Hank Williams Senior is actually pretty great. And there's this band called The Birthday Party that's like amazing, and like there's great jazz, and like oh my god, like Public Enemy is astounding. Like basically things that anybody with a Spotify account have access to now, I had access to, and it was a game changer for me at the time, because I was that was huge at the time, because we didn't have there was no streaming. Right.
If you worked at a record store, you got to listen to all kinds of stuff all day long, stuff that me going in as a consumer, I wouldn't necessarily buy or would be available to me unless I stood in the store all day.
Precisely. And that is something that is just, it can't be overstated how different things are there now. I grew up in a town called Modesto in the Central Valley of California. So it's like Sacramento, Stockton, Modesto, Fresno, Bakersfield, down the line. So Pavement was from Stockton, the next city up.
Okay.
And if you go all the way down the Bakersfield, and this is later on, there's corn. But Granddaddy was from Modesto.
Oh.
And they were operating when I was there, but I was not remotely cool enough to know about that at the time.
Oh, okay.
And ultimately, nothing was going on. And it was something that it took me working the record store really to like discover my people and discover my path that way, because it was harder for things to propagate down to not cool areas at the time is the best way to put to it.
Okay.
So that opened up my world big time. And then I started playing music when my best friend in high school showed up at the door one day, and he was sitting there with a bass guitar. He's like, "Hey, I bought a bass. You need to buy a guitar so we can start a band."
Oh, okay.
And I was like, "Okay."
Had you played any instruments before then? Any school bands, anything?
Nope.
Nothing.
Wow. But we all MTV was big at the time, and we were all like, we would watch videos of bands we liked and pick out like what we liked and didn't like about them. And then we would like sit there and like plan out discographies and logos and all of the things that you would do that had nothing to do with playing music, right. Basically. And then I did get the guitar, which was fine. It was just a trashy little starter guitar. Yeah. And I was clearly horrible at it as well. But we started the process of being in a band together, which is what counted. And then the best way I can put it is I stuck with it, and he didn't. Is that when you started singing too? Was that at that? Not until later. No, this is like just like freaking toddler era for music. Like there was nothing remotely appreciably interesting going on at all. I would say that after I stopped playing with Clay, who the first Secret Friends record, Enemy of Everyone, it's a stylized painting by David Yao that's me and him taking promo photos from high school for our band. Oh, wow. So, and it's like, in that style that David Yao was doing for a bit before he started acting and kind of stopped doing it. And he passed, Clay. And he passed like right before that record came out. I didn't really start singing until I was doing four track recordings after I stopped playing with Clay, whereas basically I had the ideas in my head for what I wanted to sound like, but was kind of frustrated that it wasn't like getting across. So I started writing some songs and doing vocals and stuff on them, and I tentatively called it Heavenly Creatures from the Peter Jackson movie. And it pretty much just guitar and a drum machine that I was just horrible at programming. And I basically wrote songs to like what was already like on there because I just couldn't figure out how to change it up. That sounds like something I would have done too, because yeah, it's just like the idea of like learning how to program it better just never occurred to me, I guess. But and so I he's like, it's just easier just to do what's already there. That's revolutionary. Yeah, you're right to what's already happening. Yeah. And so I did that, and that sounded whatever, it was fine. I haven't listened to that tape in forever, but it's basically sound like subpar birthday party, like Big Black kind of stuff, like noisy guitar and kind of like, oh, there's some promise here, but nothing really happening. It wasn't until I met up with Chris Bullig, who I formed Replicator with in person at a Mudhoney show after answering his newspaper ad about a beginning drummer looking for musicians to play with. And then apparently, according to him, quizzing him on like every band ever. And I don't remember doing that, but it sounds like a thing I probably would do. So we'll go ahead and trust Chris's interpretation of it. Yeah. Because what he said was influences, Sonic Youth, Nirvana, Mudhoney, Black Sabbath, David Bowie. I'm like, great. I like all those things. Right. Awesome. And then we were at the Mudhoney show, a friend of mine, and it was like, hey, Conan, can you throw me the keys? I need to go get something, put something in the car. I was like, yeah, no problem. And Chris happened to be there, and he's like, wait, Conan? I was like, was like, yeah. I was like, did I talk to you on the phone? Because there's not that many people named Conan, right?
Right.
He's like, did I talk to you on the phone like a while back? I was like, oh, yeah. That was me. You're the drummer, right? He was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm sorry. I've been crazy busy. I meant to call you back. So we started practicing in his bedroom at Ocean Beach, which he assured me that it was okay for him to play drums there and nobody cared. The neighbors didn't care. Well, I can assure you that was not the case. Well, and the other thing, I would take BART from Oakland to San Francisco and then take the bus all the way to Ocean Beach. So we're talking about like almost like a 45-minute to hour-long journey just to get out there.
Man.
And I've got this just, crappy practice amp and whatnot. But anyway, whatever. That's what started me on my way of actually playing in bands. And then that ended up becoming Replicator eventually. And that was like 8 to 10 years of my life. And Until Secret Friends was my most long-lived band.
Replicator is cool, man. I like the Winterval is a great album. It's like this alt noise with a tinge of country at times, like Journey to the End of the Night Part 2. Was there ever a part 1?
That's the book. The book, the Celine book.
Okay.
So there's a book called Journey of the Night. And wow, I haven't thought about that record in forever. Most people talk about Surveillance.
Oh.
Let me see if I can. I got the bookshelf right there. Do I have it? I don't know. I need to reorganize these. There's a Celine book called Journey to the End of the Night. So yeah, Journey of the Night Part 2 is got to reference the fact that the book exists. But I see where it would be confusing if you didn't know that book. It's like, well, where's the part 1? And it's like, well, no, the part 1 is the book. But
I thought maybe you're like doing the Rush thing where it's like they would do that part 4 of Fear and then they work their way back down to part 1 as
right, and then like the next record has part 1 or whatever. Yeah,
all out of order. It's just, so I thought maybe that's what you guys were going for, but
normally, normally I would do that. Well, and we have a song called on You're Under Surveillance, the second record, called The Tiny Machines Are parentheses Still Out for Revenge.
Right.
And that's because a friend's band of ours had a song called The Tiny Machines Are Out for Revenge. And we're like, oh, that's funny. Direct injection into the bloodstream. Desperate hands and a food supply. A wartime act bordering obscene. A line of code to end your life and its program. Insertion. Like, we wrote a song about nanotechnological assassination as well. It's like, well, that'll just be the sequel. They're still out for revenge.
That's amazing. That is one of the things that I loved out of the whole Replicator category is Catet, because it kind of sounds like the Jesus liver, the Jesus liver, the Jesus.
Delicious.
That's going to be a cover band. So,
right.
The Jesus liver. I did it.
It's canonical now.
The Jesus lizard covering 25 or 6 to 4.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Like it
is a wild song. I think that might be my favorite Replicator song.
Oh wow, Jesus. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Well, thanks, man. That's a Stephen King wrote this book series called The Dark Tower.
Yeah.
That's directly and nerdily so influenced by that.
Okay.
Especially the second book. Yeah, big like just my version of like like Zeppelin riffs. Like played the way we did. Yeah, that was a fun early Replicator song to play. Like by the time we started like touring, the time we started touring properly was when the quotation marks EP came out.
Okay. Yeah.
And we had most of the Surveillance stuff. So they're sort of like that was like the early era of the band. But yeah, I mean, it's I can hear that all as music now. It's been long enough.
Yeah.
Whereas for years it was just like I only heard like the mistakes or heard like a series of I could have played that better. Or,
I can understand that. Yeah.
I would not have done that now or, or whatever.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Especially because I mean, the band was around most 2000s, and we did a one-off reunion in the mid 2010s.
Oh, cool.
And going back and relearning all those songs, some of which are like the Winterville stuff's pretty straightforward, but some of the arrangements are just so needlessly obtuse and like. Oh my God, why does it do this here? Like, it makes no sense for this to do this here. And we were just trying to like keep ourselves entertained, We were just trying to well, what if it did this? Oh yeah, but what if it did it like to like an annoying level here? Like, okay, well, congratulations. And it led to these long songs that we would tour and we'd play these cities and we'd be like so far from home and nobody know who we are. It's like play like a 4-song set or something. Because it's like, but the songs were great and people loved it and sometimes and if they loved it they would buy a CD because there was no other way to ever hear this band ever again if they didn't buy the CD right then and there. So we sold a good amount of merch just because it was just a different time. Like Secret Friends sells a good amount of merch now, but that's because we're constantly hustling and like putting up like cool new designs and there you go.
I'm a big fan of CDs, so thank you.
You got all the Secret Friends stuff. You got Action Chief. You got Household Gods. You got
I got all of it. That's not even all of it. Here's the rest of it.
Yeah, it's Caterwaul Society. You got some Resurrectionists. Yep.
Exactly. And all the plastic is off because I listened to it. So
and you get the protons and electrons. You get that cool comp too.
Yes. Like I got so many questions about that stuff. So, but we'll get to it. So
I'll keep them. I'll not pull a replicator. I'll keep everything more succinct when you ask me something because it's
no problem. Man,
they definitely do the thing where it'd be like I'll like talk for 20 minutes and I'll be like, oh, that's all the time we got. I'm like, oh shit, my bad.
I have no time limit. I have whatever time limit you have is the time limit I have. So
it's the podcast. Yeah, it's the nice thing about the format. But I should also I have the ability to keep it succinct and should potentially exercise that talent.
All right, so Replicators ends. Or Replicator ends.
Replicator singular, as opposed to many people wrote Marquise who always wanted to pluralize it every time. I'm like, it's not Replicators.
I've been doing that. I had this amazing beer last night, and it was called Secret Machine, and it's from Dewey Beer, and it is this blueberry, raspberry, strawberry gelato flavored beer.
Whoa!
And it's this thick beer. It's almost like they call it a smoothie beer. Oh, and man. It was like drinking a beer dessert. It was amazing. It's maybe my favorite beer I've ever had. And so I reached out, I followed him on Instagram, and I'm like, I love your beer. I just had Secret Machines. And I'm like, it's Secret Machine. It's singular. So I then had to go and send him a new message. I'm Machine. I'm sorry. I'm drunk.
Yeah, I know it's singular. Yeah.
So
some people don't care about that.
I know, but I think you go to lengths to name it a specific thing. I gotta honor that. You did that on purpose. Secret Machines is a band, and they're really cool. Secret Machine is a delicious beer.
Right.
So
notice I said some people don't care about that. I care about that a lot, actually.
Okay, good.
Like if someone says Conan Neutron and the Secret Friend, it's like, oh, you got so close.
Yeah.
You got so close.
Good try.
Whereas, Replicators, the Replicator, Replican was my favorite thing about that band. I was like, what? There's only one word. How did Replican?
What?
That's like a harder. Is that even a word? Like, how was that the thing that you put on the?
maybe they were confused by the Replicants, which came out in the early 90s. That
Right. Which
Ken Andrews cover thing, which is amazing. But
oh yeah, there's also was Replicants that's Vern from Unwound. The Replicant. Wait, no, was that Justin? No, that was Justin and Brandt. It was Justin and Brandt from Unwound. That's right.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with that.
It's Replicants with a K. It's fine. It's pretty good. But if you like Unwound, it's one of the guys from Unwound and the drummer. But that was Replicants. And then there's two Replicants. There's the Ken Andrews one, and then there's the Justin Trosper one. But the thing is, it's funny because that's how the band name came around. Because Chris, we were sitting there walking to practice trying to figure out how to name the band. And this is late 90s, so you can do this. And it was like, oh, it's too bad that one band, that Unwound side band, has that band name Replicator. It's such a cool band name. It's like, you mean Replicants? Like, is there a band called Replicator? I'm like, there is now.
Yeah.
And it was like just like that, that's what. And then there's been like,
that's awesome.
some stupid Bulgarian DJ that tries to operate under that name now, and like now it's but at the time it was like we were the only Replicator. And it was not a Star Trek reference, which I like Star Trek quite a bit. But someone was like, oh, you name yourself after Star Trek. I'm like, that honestly never even occurred to us.
Wow. I didn't think of that. I'm not a huge Star Trek guy. I like Star Wars better. But I kind of lost it.
I love Star Wars. I love Star Trek. But like the idea, and I could see where someone... Okay, if you have a band that's like writing about nerdy topics, right? What is considered nerdy topics, I guess nerd culture is mainstream culture now. Yeah. Then, like, I could see where you would make that jump in logic, but no, it's not. It's not a Star Trek reference. This was a one-word band name, which is astounding because you could still do that in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. Man, back before that's
back before you had to have a sentence-long band name. Yeah,
and a thesaurus to find whatever band name you want, something that sounds similar that hasn't been taken. All right, so Mount Vicious came up after Replicator. That sounded a little more punk, but it was also really short-lived. I mean, did you go straight into Mount Vicious? Were the seeds of Mount Vicious sown during Replicator, or was that something that was completely afterwards?
So Ben from Replicator, like last year we were a band, was basically like, hey guys, I don't really want to tour anymore. It's not really something that's of interest to me. Okay. I want to do other things. And he's like, if you want to continue on without me, that's fine. And then I talked to Chris and I was like, hey, I definitely want to continue doing stuff. I don't think we should call it Replicator though. I think we should do something different. And he's like, I totally agree. And so we decided to do something kind of more straightforward. And then we broke up. It's almost like, for me, almost like a case study of how to break up, which is well in advance. No acrimony whatsoever.
You plan with all the
you'd be like, hey, we're gonna be, last shows in 9 months, and we have like these like 5 shows that are happening since, and then we came out with an EP that we recorded. That's like the last songs that we had that weren't recorded.
Right.
That were going towards a new record, and it was great. Every show was a party. It was awesome. It was people like, it's like suddenly all these people like would never come out to see us. But Chris, the drummer, and I were just like, yeah, let's do something different. So that's how I conceived of Mount Vicious, which was more immediate, more kind of easily parsable, less woefully oblique.
Easier to go back 20 years later and play.
Yeah, right. Yeah. For the inevitable Mount Vicious reunion, which is never going to happen. So we sort of started spinning that up as Replicator was winding down, and so because we had that lead up time, we kind of just came out, burst out of the head of Zeus fully formed.
Okay.
And it was a bigger band, and all the people in the band were in other awesome bands in the Bay Area, and it was just players that we really loved. And yeah, it was basically a really active year, and we did that record. We played all over, like a lot. Some people were really into it, and more or less I just ran the ship aground. That's the only way to put that. It's the only band I've ever been in that had everything going for it from the very beginning, and people were excited for what happened next. So naturally, I destroyed it completely by accident.
You know, I feel like I live parallel life with you, but in a different capacity, not music. So
sure,
I understand what you're saying. So, all right, so that runs. Is that why how Victory and Associates started? Was because of the running aground of.
That was me sitting around in the wreckage and figuring out what the hell is next. Okay. And more or less that originally was my attempt of like trying to create a band. Well, first of all, not with Chris, who is, speaking of incredible drummer, R.I.P. by the way, would have been his 37th birthday yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Man. But just we played with a different drummer, Mouse, who's amazing, totally different style and write different sort of songs. And the idea was to make something really triumphant and real, sort of empowering. Whether I wasn't the medium for that to be delivered, or people just weren't interested in the message. I feel like it would have been a little bit earlier, a little bit later, maybe it would have been more successful. But that's a band just did, like, remember I talked about like everything kind of working in favor of Mount Vicious? Well, this is Victory and Associates was the opposite. Like, we just couldn't get arrested. Everything we did, like nothing seemed to like hit right or pay off or whatever. But I mean, but it was the people that were into it and the work was good. I think there was a lot there to love, but just it didn't really connect with folks. And then the last year or so of the band, stuff started to get a little bit like tense. Like those guys kind of wanted to more write in the practice room. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So we'll record the practices, go back, listen to them, and then figure out what those are. Except for the fact that nobody wanted to go back and listen to them. I'm like, oh, so you just want to jam. Yeah. Okay, so you want to jam. All right. and meanwhile, I'm going the other way where I'm like more learning how to home record again and like writing stuff at home and figuring out like basic arrangements and stuff like that and going more of that into things. And then we sort of just took a break just to sort of like, well, let's just, pause button this and kind of come back and see how we're feeling in the fall. And during that time, like, I feel like it just seemed like every Friends band I knew was just doing stuff and doing their best work and being really exciting. And I was just like, man, I feel like I'm doing nothing right now. It's like, sucks. I feel like horrible about myself.
I know that feeling very well.
Yeah, it's horrible, right? And then I was like, well, I kept writing these songs and I was like, I feel pretty good about these songs. Like, I feel like these songs are pretty interesting. And so I sent them to Toshik Sai, who had produced the second Victory Associates record and was an old friend from back when he played in Big Business, which we used to play with a lot.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, hey, I think these are pretty good. Like, I'm thinking I might want to try to record a record of these songs. Like, how do you feel about that? And he's like, these songs are great. Let's do it.
Oh,
like,
cool.
Okay, cool. Okay, interesting. Now I guess I got to do this. And so I just built it from the floor up. So with rock music, I feel like you're only as good as your drummer, right?
You're right, yeah.
So I just made a list of all of my favorite drummers because I could certainly call Chris. Mouse and I weren't in the best of terms at that point, but like I'm sure he would have. I know plenty of amazing drummers. I was like, well, let's just start at the top of the list and work down. So top of the list, Dale Crover.
Right. Of course.
Who's like, yeah, sounds great. I'll do it. I'm like,
did you know Dale before this, or
like just from around at shows and stuff?
Wow.
Like he came and saw Replicator this Halloween show that we were the Jesus Lizard. Melvins were playing down the street, Great American Music Hall, and he came out to that. This is a while ago, and this is before every band was doing Halloween shows. I might add too. Now I think that's really played out personally.
Yeah.
But whatever, whatever people get out of it is fine. But
thanks, Fish.
Yeah, Fish. That's right. And just from living in the Bay Area, like, because he lived there for years, so saw Altamont plenty, and we hang out and stuff, just around. So yeah, I knew him then, but I mean, I thought he was just gonna say no, and I just move on to the second one, and then when they say no, move to the third one. So
right.
I seriously had a list of like 20 people.
Oh wow!
And then it was like, yeah, okay, like when it's my first one just says yeah, and then it's like, oh, well, I guess this is real, okay, and. When I thought of these songs, which are basically these big rock songs, and I thought about what I wanted to hear from them, Victory and Associates were label mates with this band Trophy Wives that we liked a lot. We toured with them a lot, band from Louisville, Kentucky. And the bass player, Tony, is not only like the coolest dude, but like just like awesome guy, like maybe one of the best rock bass players I've ever seen.
Oh, cool.
So I hit him up. I was like, hey, man, I wrote these songs and I'm going to make a record with the Toshi in LA. Do you want to play on it? He's like, yes.
Oh, nice.
Like, oh, great. By the way, Dale Cover's playing drums. Make sure to practice. And he's like,
no pressure.
And that's how Secret Friends started, because that was the enemy of everyone.
Does anybody know of can anybody bring me I would sure like
So that basically the end of so the end of Replicator turned into kind of the beginning of Mount Vicious. The end of Mount Vicious turned into the beginning of VNA, and the end of Victory and Associates turned into the beginning of Conan Neutron, the Secret Friends.
That's wow. That's the way to do it, though. Roll right into something else.
I guess so. I keep doing it.
You got something good. You stick with it.
Yeah. And that's so the only kind of like side quest Tom Bombadils to it are Household Gods and Action Chief.
Oh, I love that reference. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean when I say it, right?
Yeah,
I figured you'd know. And otherwise, I'm basically always been a one band guy, and not really that many. It's kind of freakish that Mount Vicious was as short lived as they are, because my bands tend to be very long lived. Like Replicator was around, actively as a band 8 years, but really almost a decade with the spin up. Secret Friends is going to hit the 10-year mark next fall.
Wow.
And I just tend to be in one band at a time and for really long times.
Well, I love the sound of Secret Friend. I mean, it sounds like dirty pop music. It's like super
totally
grungy meets pop. It's but not like the contrived way that it kind of started to branch out to in the mid 90s and stuff.
I'm glad you make that distinction, because I feel that's an important distinction.
It is. I mean, it's not Creed.
Thank you. Yeah, there's bands that we have been compared to where it makes my soul die a little bit to hear that. I'm like, oh god. But ultimately, it's like big weird rock music, right? Like it's hooky. Yeah. But it doesn't mean it's simple. Like there's usually something kind of unorthodox, whether it's in the arrangement or the turnarounds on something. Somebody, I think it's the Art of Murder record, somebody said that like as heavy as it is, like some of the transitions are almost new wave. And it's like, cool, you got it.
That's awesome.
Because it's like, because it's taking it's like rock music, but it's taking like all this influence from like, it doesn't. Like, do you know, I don't know if you're a cable guy, Access TV, AXS? Are you familiar with this?
No.
They should just call it Boomer MTV, because that's what it is. but like with actual music. So they have like all these concerts and like, these different shows on these bands. But it's sort of like, music continued to exist after 1990, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the way I look at it is the Secret Friends is like it's a rock band, but what that acknowledges everything like has happened since and takes that good and bad into it. Like, for instance, there's things that like I despise that like I feel like Secret Friends is like the antidote to. Much like how Hot Snakes kind of came together as a curative against new metal, you know?
Right.
But is everyone going to get that, or does it present it that way? Well, I don't know. That's not really for me to say, but it's not hitting the same beats that a Greta Von Fleet or Wolfmother or something are, right? Where it's just throwback music.
Right. They tend to gravitate into my ears more towards a revival of classic rock.
Exactly. So it's a rock band. I bristle a little bit when I hear classic rock described because I think it's impossible to think of, classic rock, right? It sounds like, oh, that's from a time in the past. Well, it's not from a time in the past. It's of the now. And so I don't think of that as classic rock at all, but I understand that, like, I feel like in most music, just like hearing a guitar that sounds like a guitar and is like loud in the mix is going to sound like, you know, classic rock to people. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of become synonymous with late 60s through mid 70s rock. Right.
Meanwhile, there's been fantastic rock bands in every genre. It's just they haven't been in the zeitgeist. So for me, like, I understand too, where like, okay, if you play with a bunch of noise rock bands and stuff, it's like, oh yeah, it's awesome. It's like classic rock. And it's like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's better just to shut up and let people have their opinion too. But I just feel like there's something to be done in the idiom that is interesting and is cool. And like, you can have these like cool hooky songs, but still do something like, you know, kind of like, oh, I haven't heard that before. Or like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's part of it kind of sounds like that, but also does this other thing I can't quite articulate.
Well, yeah, and the band really does a great job at that. I mean, there's this, it's a unique sound. There's elements of things that are familiar, but it's unique. And that's what I love about it. Like, so the opener, Enemy of Everyone, really establishes that, you know, Casually Intense really sets the tone for the band to this point. I mean, it's this dirty, nasty pop.
So it goes. Would you just count down? Check this out. Would you just count down? Hey, you guys. Would you just count down? I mean it this time. Would you just count down?
I mean, is stoner pop a genre? I mean, that's something we can...
I don't know. Yeah, that's funny though, right? Yeah, because it's like stoner rock is, so you think stoner pop would be also.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
I mean, sure. Yeah, it ought to be. Should look it up. I'm on the computer.
What are Secret Friends? How did that name come about?
So there's a couple definitions. I'm sorry. I'm really busy looking up stoner pop right now. There's a Last FM tag, stoner pop.
Oh my.
Outside of Last FM, apparently it is not a term that people use.
All right. Well,
here we go. There's a Bandcamp tag. That's a little more of a current reference.
Yeah.
Terry Genderbender's record is on there from La Butcherettes. That's interesting. I don't know any of these bands though. And there's like 5 of them.
All right. I think we need to
maybe I'll make that a tag. Yeah. Stoner pop. All right, sure.
So Secret Friends, how did that name come about? And what are Secret Friends?
I was gonna say, you asked me something I have like a total answer for, but I got really distracted with that. Sorry.
Pop.
So there's I never thought about it. The main thing people take out with the band name is on the face of it, right? That it's like, oh, it's like secretive. And it's like, well, no, a secret friend is like someone that like in like high school, especially, you have like the artsy kid that's sort of like seen as the freak or whatnot. And the popular kids with higher cultural cachet will not engage with, because they're seen engaging with them, it's going to lower their social capital while not raising the freaky kid's social capital. And then all of those people end up most of them anyway, like end up like working at their father's car dealership or something. And meanwhile, like the freaky kid goes on to like, write books or like become an artist or a great band, etc. And the idea of that, those people kind of being my favorite kind of people, and that a secret friend at one point is not necessarily someone that should ever have been like a secret friend, but it is something that humans do socially because of perceived status and perceived social worth.
Okay.
And it's a lot. And if people ask, like you just did, I will say that. I don't think it's important to know. It's a long band name, and if I ever thought there had been live shows, I probably wouldn't have picked a sentence-long band name. But I do like the name, and I think especially if you are interested enough to ask, like you just said, I think it gives some additional context that's kind of interesting.
It does, and I'm always curious to how people come up with band names, especially now, because it's so difficult.
It's freaking impossible. Yeah. Again, I probably just my preferred. So I'm Conan Neutron, but I don't like it when the band is called Conan Neutron because, like, well, that just sounds like I'm doing a solo show. Like, can you please print the entire band name, Conan Neutron, the Secret Friends? Oh, do I have to? It's like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Please put it on the flyer, like I asked you to do. Like that's what the band name is. So yeah, like, unless there's like a character limit, you should definitely type it in.
Oh, come on, man. That's like 3 more words.
People act like it like causes them physical pain. It's crazy. But I feel like if I had to do it over again, I'd probably just call it Neutron Friends, which is my preferred nickname that nobody uses.
Maybe
nobody
we'll have to call
uses
that this podcast just the Neutron Friends.
Neutron Friends. Well, I mean, like we started. Do I have them? We made these stickers that say Neutron Friends Heavy Industries.
Oh, cool.
That are on there. Because Heavy Industries is just, that's like a type of like corporate designation. I don't even remember where I heard it from. It might be from like Alien or something. But basically, it's like anything with like complex or numerous processes for like an industry like mining and stuff like that. I was like, oh, Heavy Industries. That's awesome.
Yeah.
that sounds cool. Yeah, man. What do you do? Oh, yeah, we do Heavy Industries.
I'm in Heavy Industries.
Yeah, that's sick.
Man, that's awesome. So one of the things that I realized recently is on the debut, you have Eugene Robinson on the song
of
Fight
Oxbow.
Meth.
Yeah, man.
Oxbow is a band I just recently got into. With their newest album is insane. I love it. And so that's making me go back. But that was a really cool treat to see that Eugene was on that debut album.
Fight Meth. Yeah, that's the name of that song. And that's that's interesting because that is one of the only songs that wasn't like fully articulated and arranged before we recorded it. There was another song that on that record that we started tracking it, and it just wasn't working. Like, I don't know why. It was fine, but it wasn't as good as the rest of them. And like, I was like, I don't know if we should continue playing on this. Like, this is kind of interesting because like the rest of them were all so easy to like, it was like, oh wow, this is coming together so quickly. This is awesome. And I had that the na 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 riff for like so long. Like, that goes back to Replicator. It was like a warm-up riff. It was like, hey, check the amp and make sure the volume is right. Like that level of like, I had played it for years and just never to fit anything. And so like, I was sort of like thinking about it and playing that riff too. And then like, Dale's like, hey, what's that? I'm like, what's what? I didn't realize I'd been playing anything. And he's like, what's that riff you were just playing? I'm like, oh, that's this thing I've had kicking around for like 15 years. And he's like, oh, it's really cool. I'm like, oh, I guess that is interesting. So that night I was like, why don't we just like ditch that? I was talking to Tony. I was like, why don't we just ditch that song and like, let's do something with this other riff I have. Like, do you have anything to go with this? And Tony's like, actually, I've had this riff for forever that I've always wanted to use in a band, and that's that. So we just slapped that in there because there was it was cool, but it was like, oh, like it needs something else. And then next day, first thing, we recorded Fight Math, and there you go. But because I didn't have it prepared, I didn't have vocals for it, and I didn't have any idea of what the vocals would even sound like. So I just asked my friend Eugene, who I know from Replicator, because I think what he does is so cool. I was like, hey, do you want to sing on this? And he's like, yes.
Oh,
great.
Man.
And he did his Eugene thing on that, and it's totally batshit, and it's great. For a while, when we play it live, we would have different people sing it. If there was like a great singer that we knew that was in the audience or around, like in whatever city we were playing.
Yeah.
And then we were just like, oh yeah, I just like it. So I just started singing it, and I do my version of that as well. And there's a different version on the Caterwaul Society comp. It's me singing. That actually it's like different, but not that much different, really. And then it's funny you bring that song up because we actually recorded a new version of it. Because like that song is just like for whatever reason really connected with people over the years.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah.
So we recorded a version that's like, okay, well, this is us having like played this song on tour for literal years now, rather than like having just finished arranging it like the night before.
Yeah.
And we recorded that, and there's going to be an EP coming out, I don't know, sometime when it gets finished, I guess. That's just the same song, the same version of Fight Math, but like with different people singing it. Because I always thought that'd be kind of a cool idea to
wow.
And it's basically based on like if you listen to the Fight Math Caterwaul Society version and the version on Enemy of Everyone, it's like they're the same, but it's like, oh, that's way different though. Even though they're the same, it's way different. Like it's amazing how much just who's singing it can like change every part of a song or make you think about it in different ways.
Absolutely. So there's
going to be a Fight Math EP that's probably online only. Who knows? But like it's going to have different singers that we like Eugene, who's already done it. But so like Eugene, that you'll get to hear the same song, but like sung by different people. But that took. I think it's a cool concept, and we've done the work on our side. It's just on the singers who do their part. But because everything was so frantic for Adult Prom, like getting it ready in time for fall and getting it out this year, like that kind of took a back seat and was like, oh, I need to pick that back up again.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I love stuff like that.
And the whole point of doing that, not the whole point, but one of the points is like, well, we only have to record it once, so that's easy for us. Yeah. It's going to be on everyone else to do their bit.
Exactly.
But that'll be a thing that happens between Adult Prom and the next record. And
cool.
I think it's been a long time coming, but I think it'll be cool because again, over the years, we've had different people sing it with us. And it's like, wow, it's amazing. Like what people bring to this is so different than like what I do or what Eugene does or whatever. And I just like that kind of stuff. And that kind of brings in the spirit of collaboration and context and everything.
Exactly. So
anyway, that's about Fight Math, which is on Enemy of Everyone, which you actually asked about. Yeah.
So after
I have a tendency to like, oh, here's the whole universe here. Like, no, man, I literally just asked you what time it was. Okay.
I get it though. I get it. I kind of do the same thing myself. So.
You gave me a brief history of time.
But then you go all concept album on everybody with The Art of Murder.
The Art of Murder.
How did you choose Hannibal Lecter? Because I think like Albert Fish or Richard Ramirez deserve like their own concept album.
Sure. There's probably some metal band.
Maybe Andre Chikatilo. Like, right. But every song is the vocals are done by a professional wrestler.
there you go. You're giving it away for free. Should be selling this.
Sorry. A stoner pop.
A stoner pop, yeah, babe. That's stoner pop masterpiece. I am a big fan of the Thomas Harris books. I am a big fan of Silence of the Lambs, Manhunter. I think there's something to love from the Red Dragon movie and the Hannibal movie, even if the books are far superior.
Yeah.
The first season of the Hannibal TV show, which is crazy. It was on network television with Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
Had been out at the time, and I liked the different way of taking the character. I just basically think Hannibal Lecter is one of the more fascinating characters in fiction. And like in a way that someone can be made to be just fascinating, even though it's like, well, this is not a laudable person at all, but this person is undoubtedly brilliant and undoubtedly like a paragon of their craft, which just happens to be cannibalism and murder. Yeah. But like aberrantly so, like with a code of conduct. Like it isn't just like a random thing. Because I feel like now with all of these murder shows, we're just constantly reinforced with like the randomness of and the mundane aspect of murder. It's like, well, no, Hannibal isn't killing everyone. He's eating the rude.
Right.
You know, he's eating people that are jerks.
Right.
You know, he's got his reasons and rationale for it, whether you agree with them or not. Like the man has a code, and I just find that so fascinating. And I just found myself gravitating towards that, and it, as almost being like a corollary towards being an artist and being creative, right? That like you have this set of principles that you adhere to, and it's who you are. Yeah. You know, it's not that he made the choice like, I think I'm going to be a cannibal today. You know, it's like who he was. It was endemic to his entire identity. And the fact that like he happened to be brilliant as well is sort of like, well, but he's still a cannibal. Right, yeah.
That doesn't negate that fact.
Yeah, it doesn't change it, but it's part of who he is. And I got really wrapped up in that, and I reread all the books, and I just found it not just to be interesting about him, but like around him, like, you know, the whole relationship with Clarice Starling and what they need from each other. That's quid pro quo, right? Yeah. And it's sort of like, well, that's fascinating because like they're using each other in a way to like get what they need.
True.
Avid fan, which goes back to Red Dragon, and that's just like literally Dolarhyde's correspondence with Lecter, where again it's transactional. They're each looking to get something out of it, and what's that if not like a conversation between artists of different social stature, like one like more at a working operational level and one more established. And also the toxic nature of the fan-artist relationship as well. So I kept finding all these different corollaries, right? And then there's a lot in there that's just like, you know, stuff that, maybe I was feeling at the point of like, I don't know if we'd call it an advanced career, but like, you know, the second record, it was sort of like, oh, we know how to do this. So let's just like do it better and do it more interestingly and do it slightly different. We don't want to remake the same record. Right, and so you end up with like a lot of songs like, you know, like We Don't Invent Our Nature and stuff like that, where in some cases they're full on inspired from the book or from the movies. Really from the nature of like what I was writing about at the time, which is just like, this is what I am. And, you know, to people that don't live in that world, it may seem like as bizarre as being a serial killer or something along those lines. And how cool would it be to like approach it from that perspective and kind of engage with the material that way, but also have the signature aspects of the source material that people like without being slavishly devoted to the concept of it. Okay. So that's basically what it is. And there's songs on there I don't think about at all. And there's songs that we play every night, you know, and that seems to be one of the most endearing albums. It's certainly one of the best selling ones.
Oh, awesome.
You know, it's been less than a dozen away from being out of print for the past couple of years, which is impressive. But concept record. Yeah. Why Hannibal Lecter? Why not? But it's ultimately just like from the perspective of being an artist, if you're truly devoted and committed to your art, it does put you aside from the rest of the world and it views the lens through this very strange way, which it may not be as destructive as like literally killing people, but it's, you know, it can take some of those same concepts and the alienation that you feel from it and put that in a way that's context and perspective can change everything. Because I mean, the thing about Lecter, especially, smart dude,
Yeah.
right? Very smart, like very, very smart, very thoughtful about what he's doing. Like nothing about it's an accident.
Right. Exactly.
And there's things like Census Taker too, which is not only on the face of it, like that's like the Census Taker story in Silence of the Lambs, right? But in addition to that, it's also meta-referential that the changes to the book for it being a Chianti instead of an Amarone, it's a meta-reference because it's basically, I could get into the wheres and why fors, but it basically is a signal that Lecter's off his meds. So, it actually is interesting because people are like, well, why was that changed? And then kind of people did the research on it, and it was like, oh no, actually that was that change was on purpose. And so then that's the idea of the adaptation, right? So the adaptation, how things change. So it's meta reference within a meta reference.
Oh my God.
For a song that basically is just like, you know, Ripper, like Wipers, Hot Snakes, like, you know, that nobody's thinking that hard about it, frankly. But
what I found it really amazing was there's something a little different on this album compared to the first one. And there's just this little shift in your vocals. Yeah. It's maybe a more confidence or I don't know, maybe you're more confident in the writing or the performance or something, but there's definitely a shift in your vocal delivery.
Yes. So, well, thank you. That's not accidental. I more or less decided that I should be better and decided to like work on technique a lot more. But also, as much as I enjoy Enemy of Everyone, I was like, this is cool and I like this, but I can lean into this a little more and I know how to serve this music a little better because now it exists. This isn't like an idea in my head. This is something that exists. And so just having that and having that framework to work within it, let me know, like, okay, I should dig in a little deeper here. I'll try this there, et cetera, et cetera. And also that record's in a different tuning. The record in general, like the songs are a little darker, you know, like it's sort of like a different approach was needed, but ultimately it was a decision. It was a decision.
Okay. And in between those albums, that's when you started your podcast, right? The 20.
Yes. Yeah. Protonic actually, which I just had Eugene on now that you mentioned that. It's funny. Like literally like a couple days ago.
Oh, wow.
Protonic started before Secret Friends, but not that much before.
Okay.
I want to say, I should know this, right? Like they're both about this. I mean, if you think about the fact that like, I think of like the band starting like when we basically hit record on the first record. So I started in April 2014 for Protonic.
Okay.
I think. So I would have been starting to write the first couple Secret Friends songs then as well. I'm actually looking up. I should know this, but I feel like the podcast is just a little bit older because I think I did a reveal on the show and it was like in the first year of it.
Oh, okay. I see.
You think I would know this?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny because
it seems like yesterday and it seems like 1,000 years ago at the same time. But
I know. This is the third podcast that I've done. The first two went just over 100 episodes. Well, the first one did 106 episodes. The second did exactly 100, and we called it quits. And this one I'm at like 320 something. And I can't remember what year I started.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
It's such a weird. It's just become part of my life.
That's how I feel about Protonic. I just did 350 earlier this week.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm closing in on 350, but I haven't quite recorded that many. I think I've released 328 or 330 or something, and I've got a few recorded still, so I'm not quite at 350.
Yeah. Yeah, Well, I know Secret Friends, you know what? Secret Friends is going to be 10 years next year. That I know. So, and it's fall of next year is going to be 10 years. And I think it's 10 years for Protonic in April.
Wow.
So they basically started around the same time.
So what made you get into podcasting?
Just wanted to make the kind of show I wanted to hear.
Nice. There you go. Same here. I also wanted to talk to some really cool people. So it's...
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, there was some aspect of it because I started when VNA was still a thing where it's like, well, I want to have a thing where I can be part of the community and be literally in the conversation, I guess, when I'm not making records and not touring, because it's such a big part of my life. And yeah, in a way, it's been interesting because the show has grown considerably during the COVID, especially, and become a part of people's lives, you know, and that's nothing to sneeze at. So, and I love it.
I was going back and looking through some of the past episodes, and I've got a question. I don't know if you can answer this or not, which is a strange thing to say about your own podcast.
Sure. But, well, you podcast, you know, like.
Yeah. I noticed that episodes 37 and 59 are redacted.
Yeah.
What's going on in those episodes that we can't talk about?
Lost the audio.
Really?
It's just a clever way of saying that we lost the audio.
Oh wow!
I don't think either of them. I'd have to look. So long ago. Yeah. It's not like anybody like committed crimes that or anything like along those lines that they'd be on there. But I really draw attention to it on the website too. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
it's like redacted. It's like a different color. It's like
it looks super official. But we're on Dark Passengers at this point, which I think might be my favorite full length that you've done.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Thank you.
That title track, Impossible Task.
Yeah,
Lindsay Charles blew me away on Without the
How great
Whatever.
is Lindsay Charles, man? She's so awesome. Cell Phones are such a fantastic band. She's such a powerhouse vocalist.
This is the first time I've heard her, so I gotta look more into her. So
she's one of the people that has sung Fight Math with us over the years, and like she's just everything she does is fantastic. Cell Phones are nuts. Like they're like hooky and like dancey, but like proggy, like kind of like almost like No Means No, like. But like I think I said Tina Turner fronting No Means No, I think is what I said for one of the descriptors.
All right.
So if that sounds interesting, then yeah, go check them out. But it's wild because that song started as a collab because I was like, hey, I want you to sing a song for us. Like I'm gonna write a song I want you to sing. And we talked about it, and she's super thoughtful about lyrics, and she's super thoughtful about her place in the music and whatnot. And it just turned out so great. And originally, that song actually is from the Protons and Electrons singles, originally, and was going to be on one of the Protons and Electrons singles. And I was like, you know what? I think I want this to be like on something different. And then at the same time, I was sort of starting to develop the stuff for Dark Passengers. I was like, oh, these all have a common theme. Which for the uninitiated is depression and mental health, basically. Like it's the concept record about depression and mental health.
Well, I think on that album, you wrote my theme song, which is Authentic Fraud. Because doing this podcast, doing the concert photography they're doing, and I've got a couple other projects that's exactly how I feel.
So Without the Poison, What Am I is the name of the song that Lindsay Charles sings. That ended up, I was like, no, that's going to go on this record. It fits perfectly. It kind of, her family apparently loves that song so much and was like, yeah, I wish they would get that excited about the cell phone stuff. And I'm like, well, it's because it's like, it's a rock song. It's easy to understand. It isn't as nuts as what you do. But the idea, for Dark Passengers was to write a concept record about depression and mental health, imposter complex, all these complicated feelings that people don't talk about, but not necessarily have it sound depressing.
Oh, well, mission accomplished. It is definitely a little darker, even musically, than the previous albums. But I mean, it's not like a doom, sludgy, depressing album.
Yeah, like it's sort of like when we play Impossible Task live, right? Like I'll usually back announce it as thanks. That's a peppy little song about my crippling depression. Which is a great laugh line, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Because people just like spent the last like 2 minutes like headbanging into like this like awesome rock song. And it's like, it wouldn't be, if you're not a lyrics guy, as people who don't listen to lyrics are happy to like characterize themselves as, then I could see that coming as a surprise. But no, it's all, I mean, it's all right there. And also, with Protons and Electrons, which were all conceived of as singles and released as singles before they were on a compilation, the key was they had to, like, whatever they did, they had to fit within a certain constraint. They had to fit within the length of, like, what goes on a vinyl 7-inch of 45. So that limits... got to keep it succinct. Whatever it's doing, if it's poppy, whether it's, like, heavy, whether it's proggy, it's got to do it quickly. Whatever it's...
A quick prog song.
Yeah, which we did. We actually did that. That's the VIG. The VIG is a quick prog song. I kid you not. But as much as I think that was great for songwriting, oh my God, everyone wanted to everyone was so exhausted by the end of that too. We recorded 17 songs that session.
Yeah,
I promised to Dale, Tony, and Toshi, I'm like, I'll never do this again, by the way. Don't worry about it. Like,
I got that out of my system.
But I had gotten to the point of like just naturally kind of keeping things succinct for a while. So with Dark Passengers was like, well, let's maybe let this one unfold where it's going to unfold. So there's a few songs like the title track, like Bipolar Vortex, that like they kind of go on for a bit, right? Spite House, like they just kind of they unfold and they take as much time as they're going to need to do what they need to do. Yeah. And that's kind of me doing our equivalent of like, mid-period Cure or something where, it's just the songs are as long as they need to be.
Yeah.
But then there's also like, peppy rock numbers that if you just happen to listen to lyrical context, like, oh, wow, that's messed up.
I did notice that. So at what point in this whole thing did you move to Milwaukee?
August 2017.
And why Milwaukee? Besides the obvious, Laverne and Shirley.
Cost of living. Oakland is where I'm from, and it's amazing, but it's just it's so expensive now. You have to like spend all your time just struggling to keep your head above water. Let alone do anything cool. And it's we have like 5 times the space for half the money basically. And being in the Midwest, it's, as I mentioned before, it's very easy to like play all these places in the Midwest easily. And Tony he was in southern Wisconsin and Kenosha he just moved back to Louisville, but having 2 of us in the same state was like, oh wow, let's do stuff. Let's do like live shows. Let's tour. And so that it's been good because of that. It's been good because of just cost of living. Yeah. So that would have been post Art of Murder, right as Protons and Electrons was kind of getting out in the world. So pre-Dark Passengers, I definitely wrote Dark Passengers here. Yeah, so that would have been around the timeline for that. And then, that's when we started bringing people in the live band, like Joe Cannon, for instance, who's been on your show. And, the team ended up expanding because it's like, oh, well, now there's like rationale to like do this like as a live unit, and there's demand for it to a certain degree as a live unit. So then that's where we started doing all of that. And, I like it here. It's not, I'm not from here, so I'll never be like truly a part of it. Is because they Midwest, like, it's just, if you didn't go to like the same grade school as everybody, like you're always a bit of an outsider.
You're the new guy. I've lived here 35 years. Yeah, you're still the new guy.
But being from California, and especially, the Bay Area, like nobody feels that way. So that takes some getting used to. But it's a cool place. I don't know what precisely is going to be next. I have some ideas, but I will say this. I would never, ever live anywhere that had a super high cost of living again. Yeah. Because having been on the side of not having that, it's better on the side where you don't have to have that.
Exactly. Yeah. I can do things.
No, it's like just being free of the worry of, having to like pay like your bills and live life is oh my God, let alone being able to do anything, that you enjoy doing.
Exactly.
Oh, I can go on a vacation? My God. Not that I ever do it, but I like the idea that I could.
Exactly. Yeah. I know the feeling. Yeah. All right. So I've got a question about some of the other stuff you did before we get into the new release.
Sure. Yeah.
Household Gods.
Yes.
That sounds completely different.
Yes.
That has a definite Rancho de la Luna sound.
I agree. Yeah.
Definitely Dave Catching involved in that. But you got Dave, and I never know if I don't have somebody on. I don't know if I'm ever pronouncing their name right. Is Dave Pajo?
Dave Pajo, yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And then, Lauren K. Newman, Kate Wakefield from the amazing band Lung. Lung is just, and we'll talk a little bit about them because, they're part of the new release.
Because we got Adult Prom coming up, yeah.
They were part of one of the best shows I've ever seen ever. Lung opened up for Max Sabbath.
Oh, yeah, they did that whole tour with them. Yeah, for sure.
Amazing. It was just one of those insane shows I've ever seen.
Yeah. So they're totally ecstatic. And let's not forget Vern Rumsey of Unwound, too.
Yeah.
That he's one of my favorite bass players, one of my favorite bands of all time.
How did that whole album come about? And is that just like a one-off thing, or is it something that could rear its head again?
Well,
its beautiful head.
Considering that both Vern and Lauren have passed at this point, I think it's fair to say that it's not going to be happening.
Oh, I knew about Lauren, but
yeah. Okay. Vern passed as well. So that came together. That and Dark Passengers were recorded in the same month, and
wow,
I was really in my head about Dark Passengers. Ironically, considering the subject matter of that record,
right,
and just having my own doubts and problems at the same time. And more or less everyone in the band has been had their own things that they were going through at that time. And I had Dave on the show on Protonic Reversal, and we've been talking, and he was like, oh, you should come down and do something at Rancho. And I'm like, God, I would love that. That'd be amazing. I love all the things that you've done there. But Secret Friends has such a, like, we always record at Toshi. We always record at Sound of Sirens. It's like we have a system, and I was like, God, it'd be so cool to do something else there. And so the series of events kind of worked out that everyone could kind of do this. And I was like, well, why don't we just make something cool? Like, there doesn't have to be any expectations like applied to it. And nobody came in with any songs. Nobody honestly really came in with a plan, honestly, other than just
wow.
well, I mean, I guess low key I had a plan, the fact that we're going to make something cool, but like
Right.
everything was written very quickly, usually like that day, like that morning, you know, the kitchen table or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like arranged kind of on the fly. And we just kind of got in the spirit of creating for creating's sake. And everyone had their own stuff that they brought into it and their own place that they were at. And I know about all of those. I'd feel comfortable about speaking on them extemporaneously, I suppose, but I don't know if it's necessarily my place to say. But everybody kind of had something that they were like, it was a good thing for them to be doing this. And the result is it sounds a little bit like what you think it's going to sound like, and a little bit like nothing any of us have ever done before.
It's very true.
And it's worth mentioning, and I adore Kate Wakefield of Lung. I adore Lung, obviously. Kate added her vocals after the fact, which was literally just like on Shine Theory. It was like, hey, I got an idea for this. We didn't do it in the studio. Lauren was going to track this with me, and she passed. Here, I don't really feel like I want to do this. There's already too much of me on this record singing. I didn't want to sing it all on this record. I just wanted to play guitar. And ended up doing most of the singing, and she did it. It was better than I could have even imagined.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, because he's just such a powerhouse singer. But yeah, the core four. And Dave does catching, not Paho. Play a slide guitar on Rest in Power too. And the Rest in Power, those are all Lauren samples.
Okay.
Because by the time it actually came out, she had passed.
Okay.
So that ended up obviously changing the timbre of the record and the band by nature of it. But
Right.
Hey, so I am Lauren K. Newman, LKN.
And I love playing the drum set the most of all the instruments I play.
I first started playing music at the age of 5. That's when I began drumming.
It sounds silly to say, but at that age of 5, I actually had that feeling like I knew that my destiny was music. And I used to also throw temper tantrums in rhythm on the floor.
I made my own drum kit out of pots, pans, chopsticks, and ice cream buckets and margarine buckets.
I mean, like, you know, Vern wanted to do it as a band, and I was like, I don't know if that's gonna be something that we're gonna be able to do, but I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then there were some ideas about if we did a second record, what that would look like, and so on and so on. But
Yeah.
But ultimately, when Vern passed, which was literally just complications from like years of alcoholism.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, like that pretty much made sure that wasn't going to happen. So, but
Right.
we made a really unique, kind of interesting record from it, and you know, that's some great experiences there. Lauren is a world-class player. You know, got to be in the echelon of where she's meant to be. You know, and like I said, I could get into the ways of what everyone was feeling at the time, but for me, I got out of my head enough to be able to walk into Dark Passengers and do what I needed to do for that record.
Right.
Which it's crazy. Both those records were like recorded in the same month, but
Yeah. They're very dissimilar.
very different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they use very different part of, you know, my skills as a musician too.
Yeah.
Because
So, Action Chief is similar questions. I mean, is that, you know?
oh, and let me just last thing on Household Gods. Jake
Yeah.
Paul was like one of my favorite guitar players, and just the sweetheart of a dude. And the fact that I got to trade licks with that guy is pretty fantastic.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like, I feel like a lot of times the guitars are so intertwined too. It's almost hard to tell who's playing what, and that's you know, considering how great he is and how much of an evolved caveman I am, I think that's it says something to the vibe that like we were able to intertwine so well in his ability as a player. He's in Gang of Four now. Isn't that crazy? He's playing in Gang of Four.
I didn't know that. Oh my God. I knew him from Tortoise, and then I really became a fan of him when he was in Swan.
Yeah, Swan, Slint. Slint people, come on! Like,
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about Slint.
He's done so much amazing stuff. Like he's such a sweetheart of a dude and just a god tier player. That guy can shred, by the way. I don't know if you wouldn't necessarily know it based on Household Gods, but that guy is like crazy shredder, like secret shredder.
I've seen some clips from some live Zwan stuff and Tortoise, and it's just insane. His playing is amazing.
He's incredibly adaptable and like I have my utility kit of things that I do that like I feel very comfortable with and I'm happy with, and like I always am pushing myself a little bit, but I mean he's like a player's player, but he's thoughtful too. That's what makes him so great as a player. He's very thoughtful about what he plays.
Similar questions about Action Chief. Is it, Joe Cannon definitely brings a different vocal style to what you're doing. What would Conan Neutron do? I'm assuming that's what WWCND stands for.
It's so the shtick, and that band is so much shtick. But the shtick is that like the acronym, it's like MDC, which is Millions of Dead Cops, but it's also like means like all these other things. Like it was sort of like the punk rock joke, right?
Right.
That it meant. Like all this different. I actually can't think of anything other than none of them are as good as Millions of Dead Cops, by the way. But but they would always be like, oh no, it stands for multi-death corporations or millions of damn Christians or missile destroyed civilization. Okay, sure, fine, whatever.
Right.
But ultimately, yeah, it is what would Conan Neutron do, and the reason for that is that like he thought that the main riff on that was like it sounded like a Conan Neutron riff. Which is hilarious because it isn't. It's a Joe Cannon riff, but it's Joe Cannon's interpretation of a Conan Neutron riff.
Oh, that's awesome.
But to back it up, Action Chief. So Action Chief started before Joe ever played in Secret Friends, and he just grabbed me at. He didn't grab me. We were hanging out at a Cactus Club show in Milwaukee. I remember the show, and he was like, "Hey, we should do something together." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Who are you?
No.
What's your name?
Yeah, this is a random guy. Yeah, sounds good. I'll collab with you. Random dude. And I was like, well, cool. I just want to play guitar, though. I don't want to sing.
Okay.
Because I have a band where I do that already. I have a band where I'm the front man. I'm the band where and my expounding rationale for that is like, it would be interesting to me to just play guitar and not have to worry about the singing part of it, because that would allow me to think differently about what I'm playing and try different stuff. And Action Chief had a couple lineups and iterations that never, every time we would just get close to doing something is when it would kind of fall apart, and then Secret Friends would get really busy. And so, because that's why I always said is like, well, because the original conceit is Action Chief was going to be the band that just played tons and tons of shows, and we didn't worry about recording. We'd eventually get to it. Right. Which was like originally the Rocket from the Crypt model, more or less. Like but like, because I constantly had to say no to shows, and I was like, oh, it would be cool if there's a band that could say yes.
Right.
Brutally ironic because it didn't work out that way at all. But all these false starts, and then I ended up just asking Joe into the live band of Secret Friends as being one of, because we needed someone to play for something, and I was like, well, there's this guy Joe Cannon. Like, I know I can play with him because I've been playing with him, even though we haven't actually done anything yet. Like I think his sensibilities fit the band, so on and so on. Yeah. Like he fit all the criteria of what it takes to be asked in the live band. So then he started playing with Secret Friends, which meant that Action Chief got even more in the background, right? Yeah. And then it was during pandemic, peak pandemic, that I was like, hey, I just started listening to all these Action Chief songs. These are pretty good, man. We should just record these. We should just like record these as a record and like have this finally be a thing. Like you and I both know we have like enough material for like a record and beyond. And this deserves to see the light of day. And Joe's like, I couldn't agree more. I'm like, okay, cool. So we grabbed Tony from Secret Friends, who I know he's like my shared brain. Like he's like, at this point we've done so many records together, and he's just an amazing player. And JB, who often plays drums with Secret Friends, who's a great player, but again, he's playing his interpretation of what Crover wrote for Secret Friends, right?
Right.
So it's not necessarily what he's going to write, and which he's been the third drummer for Action Chief, I should add. And then we recorded what is the record, just the solos with Mike Lust.
It is so cool. I mean, it's 5 tracks, but it's really. Oh, so there's.
But 2 of them are long as hell.
Yeah, I was gonna say White Knuckle Incompetence is quite a journey.
Yeah, it's enough ideas for a whole record.
Let's watch the world go to the devil. For whatever the devil we did this time.
And then I think my favorite though is I Don't Need You to Show Me How to Fuck This Up,
Which was the first Action Chief song. That is the oldest Action Chief song.
That is awesome. Not only is it a great song, but I live that like every day of my life. So
Look, I don't need your help.
yeah,
I can do this on my own.
I am so good. Don't worry about this. So the new album, Adult Prom, and in my brain, I mean, I've listened to it a bunch, and every time I pull it up on Bandcamp, I don't know what it is about my brain, but my brain changes it to adult porn, which is really the only kind of porn you should really be watching.
Yes.
So,
I agree with that assessment. Yeah.
okay. That is such...
That is a very different thing than what the record is called. Yeah. But you're right. But even though it sounds naughty, I'm like, no, that should be the type that you're consuming for sure.
Right.
If you think about the alternative, which makes me wonder if there is a record by that title. I'm also not going to look that up.
No, probably not. Probably not. I'll wait till I get to work to look that one up.
Right. We'll do on an enemy's computer to look that up.
Who
Why would
am
it
I
be
get
an enemy's
fired?
computer? Yeah.
Let me put it on my supervisor's computer.
Right, exactly. The coworker you don't like. Exactly.
Right.
He's looking up adult porn. I'm like, wait a second. Adult porn that's okay. Not on a work computer. Okay, good point. But
but it was still adult. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
So, Adult Prom, it's a split LP with Lung, which is really... It's not the first time you've done this, but it's I mean, I love Lung, so it's really cool.
Yeah, so do I.
Whose idea was it to do one with Lung and an LP and not an EP?
Yeah. So was it me? It was probably my idea. You think I would know, right? This has been percolating for a long time, though. Like we started talking about this, like, so we like them a lot. We just think they're a wonderful band. There's, we love them as people, but like they're just just powerhouse live band. If you've seen them, you know their records are great. We love their sensibilities, and they love what we do too. So it's kind of been this like mutual love affair with them, and it kind of comes back to the idea of like, and I kind of attribute this to the 90s of bands doing splits together, where it's like, oh, you wouldn't necessarily think of those bands doing splits together, but then they do like one band covers the other band.
Yes, I love those.
I always I like that a lot. And so it kind of started with that. And then like, I was like, oh, well, we could do a collab as well. So that's why Kate and I do the duet fridging on our side. And then Tony, Dale, and I are all on one of the Lung songs, which is already so packed tight you would never notice because there's so much stuff going on, frankly. Peace and love. Great tune, but I mean, there's a lot going on. But just the idea of like, oh yeah, and we'll be on their side, and one of them will be on our side, you know, and just like that idea. And then the Adult Prom songs were all tracked at the same time, with the exception of We Were Wolves, which was tracked around Dark Passengers.
Oh,
but
wow.
did not fit the vibe of that record even a little bit.
Yeah, you're so right.
It was like, wow, I love this, and wow, does this not belong on the record?
Yeah, I'm glad it saw the light of day because it's one of my favorites. With your side, the first 2 tracks are really good, but everything starts to really hit me with fridging.
Something to root on and make them pay. Advance the plot and just go away.
Frigid
Yeah,
and
that's
beyond.
Those are your favorites.
What
That's awesome.
what is fridging?
So first of all, you do know what this is. Let me start with that. That like you know what frigid is, you just may not know the term. So basically it's that's a shorthand term for the woman in refrigerator syndrome, which is a literary trope.
Okay.
Mostly from comic books, but it also extends to movies, books, etc., where a female character is like injured or raped or killed or depowered or something to advance the plot of the male character. So it comes back. It was the Green Lantern, where he like comes back and he finds that his girlfriend's been killed and stuffed in a refrigerator. And that's like a plot point. So we all know what it is, right? We all know that, and the fact that, like, I mean, one can argue, I had a discussion on it recently, that, like, Rocky IV is Phrygian because Apollo Creed gets killed, like, in the first, 10 minutes of the movie, and then Rocky gets revenge for the rest of it, right? But it's explicitly meant for female characters who...
Nothing says female like Apollo Creed.
But the term is meant for female characters because it's like it's further taking away the agency and importance of female characters by just reducing them as plot motivation.
Oh, okay. It's not because they fit in refrigerators better. Okay.
No, yeah. And so we wrote that as a duet, and which was crazy because even though Kate and I are very prolific writers and very specific writers, we were both a little like, I don't know, it's gonna be interesting. Like, it'll be interesting to see like how this goes. Dude, we put it together. It was like maybe 40 minutes.
Wow.
It was so easy. It was so easy. And like it was awesome because like I thought we like bounced off each other really well. Like there was like things that like we improved where it was like, oh yeah, that's good. That phrasing could be like, if we change it to this though, that would like allow this to XYZ. And it was awesome because it was like literally just what I wanted it to be. Because I was the one that's real stuck on like, hey, I want it to be like the whole stuffed into the fridge phenomenon. Like, but we'll do it as a duet. So we'll have like the male character and the female character, right?
That is awesome.
And well, because it's like, and it's something that I hope that the delivery system of that will be interesting enough to make people kind of like be curious about the term and then look it up and then sort of like maybe think a little harder about that and why that is a narrative trope and why that is something that's in there. So, and
I love your vocals on that. You got this like Alice in Chains like harmony thing going. That's just awesome. It's just spooky and it's just that I love that. I think that's my favorite on that whole LP is
That's awesome. That's awesome. We're actually it's going to depend on if Kate wants to do it or not, but we're actually starting to potentially work it up to play live.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
But I'm not doing it if Kate's not singing on it. Like there's no point in doing this that's like fair. as a because it's like it's a duet, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like you gotta it's like islands in the streams. You can't do that. I was gonna
say that. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Oh man, we've been on this for 2 hours. We are connected now.
Oh man, yeah.
That and so
what else is on there? We Were Wolves. I'm trying to remember. I should know this, right? Criminal Hypnosis.
That song is so catchy. I find that popping into my head at just random points in the day. I love that song.
I just saw there's a movie that's coming out called Hypnotic.
Yeah,
I guess it's Robert Rodriguez, and from what I can tell from the trailer, by the way, it's already rated 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb, so it's probably not that great. But
awesome, right up my alley.
But I was like watching their preview, and I was like, oh man, I think this is about criminal hypnosis. That's crazy. Like. Yeah, so the title of this comes from, and I kind of magpie titles. Like, I'll just, like, if I hear, like, a phrase I like, I'll just write it down, and then, like, we'll use it later. And it was one of these, I don't like them, but Lindsay, my wife, does. She, like, watch these murder shows, and something about this, like, hypnotist that, like, was I assume it's murder. My interest in the source material is like low. Let's put it that way. That was it was basically he was doing like malpractice, but with hypnotherapy.
Oh,
It was like, yeah, he was a criminal hypnotist. I'm like, he was using criminal hypnosis. I was like, amazing. Like that's an incredible title.
that's just a whole nother reason not to get hypnotized. I got my own other
exactly.
sets of reasons. That's a whole other reason.
As if I need more reasons not to get hypnotized. That sounds
Exactly.
terrible. So that just came back to the idea of like, well, then what if somebody is getting hypnotized? Like, what are the kind of things that they want to get out of it? And so that was like sort of like the writing prompt for that. You know, some like kind of vision boarding that, but what, you know, if you're dealing with someone that has like nefarious ends to it,
I don't want to see that vision board.
yeah, well, exactly, yeah, it's a dark vision board. And then with the because there's a freaking sitar in that,
Yeah.
and so I was like, well, damn, dude, if we got a sitar in there, we need to have something that like sounds like real 60s Beatles guru like level
Right.
like profound. And so that came up with money and fame. One gives you freedom, the other takes it away.
Yes, I love it. Oh, I love that song. That's fighting with Fridging for our favorite on the album, but I think Fridging is
awesome.
edging it out right now. So
Okay, all right. Well, that's and that's a lot of hooks packed in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think it is the only one that has a sitar in it in Secret Friends so far. But I love it. It's so far. I loved it. It's great to do a sitar on that. But yeah, but it's amazed me that there's a movie about actual criminal hypnosis coming out in like a month, which is like, wow.
that's crazy.
Because I just thought it was like an astounding term. I'm like, it's like criminal hypnosis. What?
I didn't know those two words ever went together.
Yeah, it's like those are just like very strong words that like you wouldn't expect to see in the same sentence.
Yeah, it's like I saw. It kind of reminds me of this short little clip I saw of Shotgun Mousetrap.
Shotgun Mousetrap. That's.
I mean, you don't think of those.
You wouldn't
things.
expect to see those two things together. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
it's first time that those two words have been put together. It's amazing. So, well, this has been so much fun. Where can people find the new album, the split with Lung, Adult Prom? Make sure you search the correct term. You will get them at a totally different website. What is the best way for people to
the M in that is doing a lot of work and is very important to enunciate.
So it's back to the heavy industries. The M is your heavy industries letter.
Yes, absolutely. So you can get it through Learning Curve Records. If you can pre-order it. At the time of this, I should say, the time of this recording, you can pre-order it. It's released October 6th into the world.
My wedding anniversary.
Oh, well,
there you
congratulations.
go.
There you go.
Thank you.
We didn't plan it that way, but here's where we are.
Now I know what I'm getting for my wife for her anniversary.
Like,
don't tell her.
Why did you give me this? Criminal hypnosis.
I'm just going to send her the link you sent me. Happy anniversary.
Learning Curve Records putting out. So learningcurverecords.bandcamp.com is probably the best place to get it. You can get vinyl. There's CD as well. So neutronfriends.bandcamp.com is the Secret Friends Bandcamp. You can get it there. You can also get it at the Lung Bandcamp. There's just too many places to get this, which is lunglung.bandcamp.com.
Wow.
So LP, CD, digital. I really dig it. I think it's a super cool record. I mean, it's exciting for me just conceptually, but also, we really dig that band and they really dig us. I love our cover of the Lung song.
Begin to wake up, dance. Feels like my feet are hanging from a rocket cliff. Nothing moves and
Because when I first heard that song, I was like, that sounds like a song I would write, but
Right.
not in like a like in a holy moly, that's awesome, but not in like a I feel ripped off, not at all. But like
Right.
ours is more straightforward of theirs. It's pretty much a rock arrangement for their song, but I feel really good about it. We've toured on that cover at least a year.
Nice.
But their version of Impossible Task blew my mind because it was like, first of all, way to like cover a song that's basically a riff delivery system without playing that riff until like the last second of the song, you know?
And
bratty move, and I really appreciated that.
Well, I mean, they're such a unique band. They're just, I mean, cello and drum. It's insane.
And like to me, it totally has like a Rid of Me era PJ Harvey vibes.
Yes.
Because it's so minimal, but then when it hits, it's like, oh yeah, it's awesome. So that's humbling and heartwarming at the same time to hear that. And I couldn't be more excited. We got this West Coast tour with them in October.
That's awesome.
Super, super pumped about it. There will be other stuff we do with them. It's probably going to be next year at this point, just because booking out so far. But I would imagine we would probably get to the East Coast. So.
Oh, that'd be awesome. So what's the best social media outlets for people to follow you and keep track of the touring and releases and stuff like that? So
Instagram is just at Conan Neutron. It's personal and band. So bit of column A, bit of column B. That's pretty common for folks. Facebook is, you have to go to Neutron Friends, facebook.com Neutron Friends, but there's a Conan Neutron Secret Friends Facebook page. We put all our shows up on Songkick and Bands in Town. So if you follow either of those services, which don't require you to be on any social media, you'll get email notifications if we're playing near you. More or less on Twitter, I guess, for whatever that's worth. For
X or whatever it's called now.
Yeah, that sinking ship. That's on there. At Conan Neutron, Blue Sky, just Neutron. I'm on Threads, I guess. I've like logged into it maybe 5 times. Is anybody on Threads? I don't even know.
I am, but I don't do anything on it.
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm like, I don't care about that.
Like, this is just Instagram, Twitter. I don't really care.
What if Twitter, but Instagram?
Yeah, I don't really care.
We also have this website, neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. So after all this malarkey goes away, like you can still find us there all the time. Yeah, there's always something going on, you know, after this, there's a new record completely recorded that's being mixed right now. That's going to be like probably fall of next year.
Wow.
And that Fight Math EP that we talked about is going to be coming together soon as well. But yeah, Adult Prom split with Lung. We're very proud of it, and we're excited to do a ton of shows with Lung all over because they are just delightful.
I really appreciate all the time you spent with me today. This has been
it's a blast, man. Yeah, it's a cool show. Thanks for having me.